Hi, and welcome to this section of the Algebra Word Problem Tutor. And it's kind of funny that this is called the Algebra Word Problem Tutor, but this section of the course is actually going to deal with word problems involving geometry. And I kind of struggled where to put this, if I should put this particular section in the geometry course or not, but I felt like in the end it fit more with the word problems and the theme of algebra, because you'll see that when we work the problems, even though they involve geometry and geometric concepts, when you actually solve them, you're doing a lot of algebra. You're setting up algebra equations, basically, to solve what you're trying to solve for. We're just going to use some of the concepts in geometry that I know you're all familiar with, and if you're not familiar with them, I'm going to teach you them as we go along here in the class. So the idea here is the same as the other ones. We're going to read the problem, we're going to set up in many cases a diagram, but we'll also set up our equations and we'll solve our equations and we'll get the answers. So let's just dive right into it. The first one says the perimeter of a rectangle is 42 inches and the length of the rectangle is 3 inches longer than the width. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. So the only thing that I really need to point out here that you may or may not know is the perimeter of something just means how far all the way around the bases there would it be. So if you measure with a tape measure all the way around, that would be called the perimeter. So it says the perimeter of a rectangle is 42 inches. So before we get into that, let's just draw a rectangle. Okay? We know it has some width and we know it has some length. Okay? And this width here is the same as this width, and this length is the same as this length because it's a rectangle. Okay? Now, we know that the perimeter of a rectangle is going to be equal to the total length all the way around, okay, which is 2L plus 2W. Now, if you don't quite see that or remember that from geometry, it kind of makes sense. It's the total length all the way around. So 2 times L is going to be this plus this, and 2 times W is this plus this. So if I add all of this together, that gives me the perimeter. But it tells me in the problem that the perimeter is equal to 42. So that's going to be 2L plus 2W. This is one of my two equations. This is one of the ones I want to keep to help me solve the problem. The next thing it says is the length is 3 inches longer than the width. L is 3 plus W. The length is 3 inches longer than the width, so that's another important equation. Now notice I'm trying to find the dimensions of this rectangle, which means I'm trying to find the length and the width. Now I've got two equations and two unknowns, and that's exactly what I need to solve the problem. So let's proceed just as we have before. Let's take this L and we'll plug it into here. So what we will get is 42 is equal to 2 times L, but L is given by this, so I'll put 3 plus W in, plus 2W, just kind of carrying this down. Now I can solve for W. Okay? 42 is equal to, distribute this 2 in, 2 times 3 gives me 6, plus 2 times W gives me 2W. And then, of course, I have this 2W over here that just is along for the ride. Okay? So then 42 is equal to 6 plus 2W plus 2W is 4W. Okay? And now in order to solve for W, I need to get it by itself. So I'm going to take the 6 and I'm going to move it over. So I'm going to have 42 minus 6 because I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. On the right, it disappears because 6 minus 6 is 0. And on the left, you're just subtracting here. Now 42 minus 6 is 36, okay? And that's equal to 4W. And so W, just divide both sides by 4 to get rid of this. 36 divided by 4, W is equal to 9. That is the width of the rectangle. So I'm halfway home. To find the length, I just use my other equation here that I have. L is equal to 3 plus W. So the length is equal to 3 plus the width, which was 9. So the length is equal to 12. Okay? Length is equal to, width is equal to 9, length is equal to 12. And this is all in inches because the problem was dealing with inches. Okay? So, does the length equal 3 plus the width? Well, sure it does. 3 plus the width gives me my length. And if you were to take these two numbers and put them up into here, you would find that the perimeter all the way around this rectangle is going to be 42 inches.